Welcome to our Fridays at First podcast. My name is Richard Gibbons. I'm a member of the pastoral staff at First Presbyterian Church in downtown Greenville, here in sunny South Carolina. Thank you for joining us. Today's broadcast is a little different, as this edition and next Friday's, November 21st, I am joined by two special guests, and we're discussing the issue of alcohol addiction. Let me introduce Brady Hames and Sarah Lauren Wallace. Welcome. Good to have you here.
Good to be here.
Hello, how are you?
Today's podcast is a little different because my guests are going to tell us what it is like to struggle with alcohol addiction. Brady and Sarah, thrilled you're here. Alcohol addiction is a tough topic at times. And it's tough for a whole variety of reasons, but one of the things I've learned over the years is that most families have someone in their family who struggles with alcohol. It could be an uncle, it could be a cousin, it could be a parent, it could be a child, but it's a struggle. And so I wanted to start with a question. Describe to our listeners what it's like to struggle with alcohol addiction. Brady.
Okay. Well, I think alcohol addiction for me, was really, I don't know, the best. I've tried to think about the best word to describe my alcoholism, and I drank to basically numb everything. I started drinking when I was 21. And that's where I started to drink heavy. I wasn't somebody who drank a whole lot when I was real young. You certainly hear stories like that. But my disease kind of took full effect when I turned 21, and it was I drank to numb everything because I didn't know how to deal with real emotions and. I didn't like it. Fear played a big role. Scared of everybody, scared of everything. And so that was kind of one of the catalysts to continue my drinking. And it was to kind of not feel anything. And it just kind of
Can I probe a little deeper and ask, fear of what? Fear of failure?
Very good. Yeah. Fear of failure, fear of not being liked. Was a big part of it.
Not measuring up to people's expectations?
Absolutely. Fear of the truth. A lot of it was a big thing, which is why I lied a lot.
Right.
My addiction took me to some pretty low places. I mean, homeless. I've been in jail, institutions, all of that stuff. I did all of that stuff in my drinking career, and that's where it took me. But if I was, again, to put it on just one word, I was just kind of trying to numb everything.
Yes.
So it was, that was
pretty much where you were.
Yeah. That's where it got to. Yeah.
Sarah Lauren, same question.
Those feelings are very relatable. Not wanting to feel. I started drinking in college age as well. And then and I never drank like a normal person. I look back now and realize that I never drank like a normal person, where some people can have just one or two. I don't even know what that's like. And then as I got older, there were different periods in life where I didn't drink very much. Having children, having small children, nursing. So there were breaks in my drinking. I think had I not had those breaks, then my bottom probably would have come much sooner than it did.
Yep.
And then in my mid-30s, I went through a very difficult period of time, went through a divorce and custody and, the separation and all of that. And I handled that just about as badly as a person could. And it was numbing out, not wanting to feel, I didn't really even process all of that until much later.
Right.
But it was not wanting to deal with my circumstances.
Yes. Now, you've described significant problems, both of you, and complicated problems. Sarah Lauren, let me follow up and ask, at what point did you realize there was a problem?
Well, denial is a powerful thing. And I would say I had a tremendous amount of denial. And also, I felt like I could stop if I really wanted
Right.
to. And that was a lie that I was telling myself. Um, I,
And was this a daily thing you would repeat in your head and say, it's not a big deal, I can handle this, it's no problem, the people around me, I imagine, were noticing something, and yet you were able to bluff your way through?
bluff my way through, but more than bluff my way through, it was I would make excuses,
Right.
and I would say things like, well, anybody that was going through what I'm going through would behave this way. You know, anybody would struggle. Anybody would drink too much if they were going through this.
Right. Brady, similar question. At what point, or was there a process for you where you began to realize, wait a minute, there's a problem here?
I can pretty much, where I realized it. Yeah, I remember very vividly. Actually, I was 22 years old, and I was playing in a U.S. Open golf qualifier, and it was something that I was very excited to, and I was doing.
That's
I
a
was
big
doing
deal.
this right, and so to calm the nerves, I was practicing, warming up for the event, and somebody that I really respected, a good friend of mine, came up to me and asked me, because said, "Brady, are you drunk?" And I said, "Yeah." And he looked at me.
In the U.S. qualifying?
Yeah. And he looked at me and he said, "You realize that's not a good thing, right?" And it just hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, I've got to.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Now, I didn't quit drinking for 20 years later, but that was like the first moment where it was like, not only did I kind of know that I had an issue, but now I felt everybody else knew that. So hiding it.
So why continue when you've had this moment, which for many folks may have been a breakthrough moment, but I'm guessing, like Sarah Lorne, it was a case of, it's not a problem, I can handle it.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, it was, I think that, of course, that ruined my day. But going forward from that, I just wasn't. Yeah, I thought it's really not that bad. And gosh, I can't even tell you how many days I would wake up after drinking all night and saying, "God, I cannot do that again." And then it rolls around 6 or 7 o'clock, and I've done it again.
And your close and best friend denial, was holding you close and telling you it's okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I could look myself in the mirror and. When my whole world was collapsing around me.
And convince yourself it's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And say, nah,
I've got this.
And I had the crazy illusion that I've still, I can just go have one beer. I can just go have a beer with the guys or whatever. And then the next thing I know, 3 or 4 hours later, I'm blacked out drunk. And that was a daily thing for years.
Right. Now, both of you, I think, knowing you both a little, would look back and say that even during those moments, I sensed the hand of God in my life. Sometimes not as close as you would like it to be. Sometimes it felt, at least from your perspective, he was standing at a distance. Other times he's speaking into your soul. Talk to us a little about the role that faith played. Sarah Lorne, let me start with you.
When I got to I would really say those last 2 years of my drinking, I really felt like God had abandoned me. I mean, that was my perspective at that time. I'd grown up in church, grown up with what I would consider to be a relationship with God that had some ebbs and flows, but for the most part was pretty strong. But at that point, in my mind, he had abandoned me. I have realized since then how untrue that was.
Right. And was it more that you had abandoned him?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
I was embarrassed of my life circumstances and where I found myself. And my favorite, I talk about this all the time, the sermon series you did, Jacob, God's Wee Rascal, that to me perfectly described exactly what was going on, that he wrestled me to the ground. He was wrestling me to the ground and being incredibly strong-willed, and
No,
intent.
you
Oh
are.
yes,
I'm
incredibly
shocked to hear
strong-willed,
that. Shocked to hear that.
and emotional,
hmm
and intense. It
Yeah.
was going to take being wrestled
Oh,
to the
yeah.
ground pretty
Mhm.
severely
Yes, to get your attention
to
and
get
say,
my attention.
you need to pay attention to this.
Absolutely.
Right.
And that's what happened. I gave up
Mhm.
sitting at my parents' kitchen table one night, and that was the surrender.
Yes.
It was like the air was sucked out of the room,
Right.
and I just said, I'm done. I cannot do this anymore. And I know that that was God.
Now, let me tease that out a little, because
Okay.
some of our listeners, of course, will be able to identify with what both of you are saying up to this point. But this breakthrough moment when you realize for the first time, wait a minute, this is, number one, more serious than I think it is. Number two, God is now calling me to a standard of living and a quality of life I've not known for some time, and I've been in denial. What's going on in the inside?
I felt it was that was an out of body experience for me.
Right.
It really was.
Right. You're sensing the Holy Spirit's call on your life again.
I was, and I
Right.
also realized I was not equipped to handle it, like at all at that
Indeed,
moment. So
indeed.
it was.
But it's deep and profound. It's a conviction that goes to the very essence of who you are.
Yes, I mean, and I knew then I couldn't do it on my own,
Right.
no matter what.
Right.
And
There
it
you
was
go.
God. I could not do
Yes.
it without God, and I
Mhm.
also needed help. I
Right.
mean,
Right. And that's where your faith began to articulate itself when you realized, okay, I need help with this.
Mhm.
Brady, similarly, you've just said it's been a 20-year journey before you came to that point. Describe that point for us.
Yeah, I think so. I came to a point of not having anything, and I checked myself into a very vivid conversation. I checked myself into a rehab facility,
Right.
and I was going through that kind of detoxing and stuff. And I remember having a conversation with. Well, let me back up for a second. So
Sure.
I grew up. I grew up Catholic,
Right.
right? And you hear people say all the time, I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious.
Right.
Well, I was
Right.
the exact opposite of that. I was religious and like the Catholic, and you go through all the pomp and circumstance and the confession
Sure.
and all of that stuff.
Sure.
And as long as you do all that stuff, I've had
It's
the
religious observance.
correct,
Right.
without the spiritual component to it.
Right.
And then when I went to rehab, and I was speaking with a gentleman there, and I was telling him, gosh, he asked me like, what's the hardest thing for you?
Oh,
And I said, I can't get over what I'd done to myself,
right.
right? And letting everybody else down, and all of the
Right.
self-pity and stuff
Right.
like that I had. And he asked me, he said, Brady, do you believe in God? And I said, yeah. He said, do you believe God forgives all sin? And I said, yeah. And then he said, do you believe that God can do anything? And I said, yeah. And he just looked at me and he said, why don't you let God be God?
Oh,
And it was because up until that point, I had never, the thought
Right.
had never occurred to me, Richard, to ask God for help with this problem that I've been dealing with. And that was the biggest breakthrough. So that night I went to God and I said, I need some help. And
Right.
instantly I felt,
right.
I felt
And once again, you see the breakthrough moment with the power of the Holy Spirit beginning to
unbelievable.
work.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And on that note, we have come to the end of part 1 of this interview. Sarah Lorne and Brady, thank you for being willing to join us and focus on such an important topic. Both of my guests will be with us again next Friday for part 2 of this insightful and important podcast. If you would like to be in contact with Sarah Lorne or Brady, you can reach them at the following email address: podcast@firstpresgreenville.org. I will be glad, of course, to pass on your questions and comments. Alcohol addiction affects many families, and Thanksgiving and Christmas can be extremely challenging for folks who struggle with alcohol. Please feel free to share this podcast with your family and friends. Now, as we continue this week's events, a huge thanks goes to everyone who has participated in our Hollis Angel Tree appeal. Trees are still in place, and if you have not had the opportunity to participate, you can do so this Sunday. A QR code will appear in the bulletin announcements that will provide a link to an Amazon wish list, and gifts can be shipped directly to the church. If you wish to purchase the gifts yourself, please return them to the bins located next to the trees by Tuesday, November 25th. Our next focus today is our Christmas concerts. And this year, these incredibly important events will take place on Saturday, December 13th at 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. and also on Sunday, December 14th at 3 p.m. You'll hear Christmas favourites by our 100-voice choir, full orchestra, and also our handbell choir. Tickets are available at firstpresgreenville.org/events and at the First Pres box office adjacent to the main reception area. Tickets are $15 for adults and $10 for children 12 and under. On a slightly different note, we are looking for help and need communion volunteers. Our communion preparation team is seeking additional volunteers to assist and manage the preparation of communion elements. We host Communion Sundays each quarter and on Maundy Thursday. Members prepare the elements, maintain inventory, and care for the linens we use on our communion tables. If this is a role you would consider participating in, please contact Jim Hastings, jimhastings761@yahoo.com. Jim has also assured me that training will be provided. As we continue to move towards the end of November, Operation Christmas Child Shoebox Drop-Off is drawing near. For everyone who has participated in this year's shoebox appeal, please remember to return your shoeboxes to the Washington Street entrance next week. You can go to firstpresgreenville.org/events and click the Operation Christmas Child icon for more information. And as we move towards the end of our podcast today, let me focus on Sunday. And please give a warm welcome to the Bickley family as baby William Buist Bickley brings parents Alex and Carly to the 8:30 service for his baptism. At the 10:45 Ignite service, Barnes Cox Powell will be baptised as Mom Ashley looks on with delight. At the 11 o'clock service, Sophie Ann Hopkins will be accompanied by Dad John and Mom Madeline. Young Sophie is looking forward to her baptism, and my colleague, Mother Superior Claire Ripley, will be officiating. Also on Sunday, we will be continuing our recent study series entitled Insights from Isaiah. This week we are coming to our penultimate study in this series, and we will be exploring together Isaiah chapter 61, the first 3 verses, along with verses 10 and 11. If you have a moment, please read this in preparation for joining us for worship on Sunday morning. Also on Sunday, as a rather special touch, students from First Pres Academy will be joining us and participating in worship across the services. Students from North Greenville University will also be participating in the Ignite service. It is a busy Sunday for students along with their moms, dads and grandparents. And finally, as we move towards the weekend, let me put you in the mood for a fun weekend. Question: what is made of leather and sounds like a sneeze? Answer: a shoe. Meanwhile, I trust you have a great weekend and look forward to welcoming you on Sunday morning.